Hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel. This is Michael, KE4EST. And we're back here at this Eico 330, 330, however you want to call it. Solid state RF signal generator. So, remember in the first part, I showed it to you. Showed you what I was going to change out, what I was going to do. And right now we're just looking at the face of it, and you can see I've cleaned up all this. Pulled this off, cleaned it up, pulled the knobs and cleaned them. I found matching embellishments. This one here's got some little, like, you can see that on camera, like somebody took pliers or something to it. Barely scratched it, but I buffed that out as much as I could. This one here's the only one that's not original, but I got it off of a different knob and cleaned it up as best I could. Put it on there. So we did all that, and let's turn it around here. And let's elevate it just a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. Maybe move the camera just a hair. Now all the controls I went in and lubricated, cleaned all the contacts, like in here, just like a drop of oil down in here, over here. You don't want to get oil, you know, on your wafers or anything. Just like down there in that gear. It's kind of getting dark now. The light. You can see the gear down in there. Did all that, of course. Cleaned up the inside some more. I didn't pull this completely apart. So, you know, so you can take everything out, clean it, and put it back in. You can see I replaced this capacitor and this capacitor in the power supply. Replaced that capacitor. Placed this one back here. Checked all the resistors. They checked real close in tolerance, so I figured they might. And we got, you know, these newer carbon film, and then we got the Allen Bradley style carbon. So I do come across those occasionally. You know, it's a little bit out of tolerance or just too far, you know, to make me happy. So sometimes they'll be like, they're okay, but they get too far out, let's go ahead and change them. But this one here's been taken care of and been in a good environment. So I mean, it wasn't a whole lot of cleaning, there wasn't a whole lot of going on. So resistors checked out good. Let me show the bottom of it here. Didn't have to change out the line cord or nothing like that. Let me see that. Yeah. This capacitor right here I changed out. And I've checked everything and went over it and touched up anything, but like I said, went in and cleaned all these contacts up and all that, so it came out pretty good. So what we want to do here today, move the camera back a little bit there, is go over the alignment procedure on this, get it lined up and look at it and make sure it's working like it's supposed to. Now, it's like in other videos I've done where you've got several bands on something, whether it be a signal generator or radio receiver or whatever. I'm going to go through every individual single band. As I do that, I bore you to death, and it takes a while. But we'll go through. I'm going to start with, I'll just start with band B here. I'm going to read you what it says. If you don't have a frequency counter or anything like that, when it comes to aligning it up, it says set your band selector switch to A. And that, you know, of course, is right there. Starting with that one. Then it says tune an AM broadcast receiver to a station of known frequency at low end of broadcast band. Set tuning knob of model 330, of course, is this, to exactly half the unit to exactly half the known broadcast station frequency and adjust coil L1 shown in figure 5. And of course I showed you that in the back the last time, but here's your, this shows you where all your coils are, your capacitors coming around. This is band A, B, C, D, E, and it corresponds around here like that too. So that is setting that up, and it's, you know, it tells you how to use a, and if I go to the next page of this, it even tells you about zero beating, gives you a little note there if you're not familiar with it and how to go through all that. But what I'm going to do is use an oscilloscope and a frequency counter, since I have a counter and a scope, and my counter's got a GPS disciplined oscillator, so it's dead on. Way better than what it needs to be for something like this, but we're going to go with it anyway. But the first thing it's wanting you to do is adjust your audio. You've got this, when you put this over here to internal modulation, you got a 400 hertz tone, or thereabouts 400 hertz tone. Now, if that's not exactly what you want, you can go and modify the circuit and things like that. But it's, you know, when you're 400 to 600 hertz in there, you know, it's going to be fine for most things. When you need to throw some modulation in, that'll be just fine. Especially use something in this class of a kit that's built and used for a hobbyist, and you're not into radio repair. You don't have a big shop set up and running where you got radios and test equipment and stuff coming in and out every day, and people's, you know, paying you to align their equipment and stuff like that. If you was doing that, of course, you'd have something more expensive and a lot higher tolerances and set up a lot better. But this is just fine for hobbyists. So 400 to 600 hertz in there. Even though it says 400 hertz, it may be a little bit off. But like I said, if you're know enough about it and you want to go in there, you can tweak a little bit on the. If you look at the schematic, it's just a, I think it's a T network, so a couple resistors and a capacitor you can tweak around with to get everything just perfect. Okay, so starting with the alignment procedure here, it says remove the 4 screws. Okay, we'll skip over that. Take the cabinet off. It says take this here and feed this into a wideband oscilloscope. Of course, back then, you know, it was a little different, but most of them now have plenty of bandwidth. So what I'm going to do is take one of these here, put that on there, plug that into here, and we're going to, it says to okay, so now it says set the signal selector switch to internal mod. No, wait. Set the signal switch to audio output position. Come over here to there. And observe your 400 hertz audio signal on the scope. Adjust potentiometer R24 on the PC board for a good sinusoidal waveform. R24 is the potentiometer closest to the 2 gain 10 capacitor. So if we turn this around here, and let me turn down some lights here a little bit, so it's not so, if you look in the back, that way you can kind of see what's going on here at the same time. If you look in the background, you can see the scope. You can see it. I turn that and it's off, back on. So right here you can see the scope. So just R24. So R24, very carefully move this back here, is, where's my, here we go. So this potentiometer right back here, kind of hiding here. It's a little thumb, but you can get it's got a little slot in it. It's a little bit stiff, so I don't want to use a tuning tool. I'm going to use this screwdriver I've used for everything that don't need to be real sensitive, that I've put the insulation on and ground this down and modified it just a little bit. If you look at the scope back there, and you can see, and according to the scope, I just got to hit straight to the scope. It says 328 hertz. You can bring it See how it went away. And if we come back, go too far, we'll lose oscillation. If we come in not enough, oscillation's there, and boy, that's a pretty signal. It's 635 hertz, and I don't know if there's enough signal coming out to drive. So let's bring it just a little bit more. And you can see the bottom end of it here starting to sharpen off. But for this, it'll probably be fine. So let's bring it. This is not hooked up to the frequency counter, but the little counter built into the scope's pretty good for something like this. Right there. 398, 399 hertz. So we'll set that there. And then now it says set the signal, the selector switch to internal modulation. Let's flip this around here a minute. Alright, so we're going to take this off. We're going to put this over here now. Set it for internal modulation. You already kind of see it there in the background. I turned the internal modulation off just for a minute. I want to set my scope up a little bit more there. Alright. So internal modulation. You can kind of see it on the scope back there. I'll go ahead and just put you on the scope a little better. And I'll move this here around. And what I'm going to be doing is this one right here, at the very end, R20. Now you see that pattern with the modulation turned on. If we go too far over, you see it's really chopped off there. We come all the way this side. See the difference there. Now the scope ain't want to trigger exactly right, and I could go in and tidy that up, make it lock a little better, but we're going to do this real quick. You're looking for about a 3-to-1 peak, where the center here to the top here. So 3-to-1. So we're going to adjust this about right there. It's about 3-to-1. And I know it's jumpy, it's hard to see there, but that's about 3-to-1. And then you're done with the audio setup. Okay. Let me bring it back around. Let me move the camera back again so you can see what I'm doing. And now's the point where it's going to say, okay, you got that set up, and it goes in a little more detail in the manual about it, or in the setup. The calibration, RF calibration. Let's turn that off. And let me bring it out here. Okay. So it says, like on A, and we can start with A, it don't matter. I'm down to A here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come off of the scope though. I'm going to go into the frequency counter. I'm going to turn on 50 ohm input on the frequency counter. Now if you don't have a frequency counter, it's got a 50 ohm input. You want to use something like this here, one of these T's. So what you would do is you would hook it up like that. This is the cable coming out of your frequency, or out of your signal generator. You want to terminate it. This is a 50 ohm termination. And then take this here and hook it onto the frequency counter. So just remember that. This one here has one, so we're going to hook that up there. One other thing I'll mention real quick before we get started on that. Like I said, I pulled all this apart and cleaned. I took this off, dial, cleaned it, took this plastic off, cleaned it. When I first put this on, if you take it off and clean it, you want to make sure your capacitor here is fully meshed. Bring it all the way fully meshed. Okay. And then, like when I put this together and put it on, I stuck this on there, and this was off over here somewhere. And what I'm talking about is this line right here. See this line? This is used to set it up when if you take it apart and put it back together, you want to get this on this. So make sure the capacitor stays fully meshed. Okay, now right now it's not because I'm not going to loosen these screws, but see it's got two set screws right down in here. And if you loosen those off and you move the knob, this is going to move, this is going to move, but this here will just stay stationary. The capacitor won't move. So you want to bring this, put this right on the line. Make sure your capacitor staying fully meshed. That's on line. Double check back and forth, and tighten up those set screws carefully back and forth to get them good and tight. Sometimes you don't really want to tighten just one and go the other. Kind of kick it off just a hair. But you want to do that, and so that now when I try to turn this, see I can't. It's right on the line because they've said the factory and got this all figured out. That way this will track a whole lot better and you be closer. You might say, well, there's 110, let me adjust. Okay, so you'll go back here, you'll reach back and you'll want to do some adjustments to adjust, and this will be reading 130 or so. Your frequency counter will be reading 130. You can go all the way to your coil just about slug just falls out or bottoms out or something. You just cannot get nowhere near 110. That's probably because you didn't have this lined up. You gotta have that set, okay? So anyway, I have this on A. I'm gonna start at medium here. I have this all the way turned up. Okay, now I've got this fed into the frequency counter. So I'm going to set this so that you can see the frequency counter. And I've got this over here. But what I'm going to do real quick is this is coil. What do they call this? L1? Yeah, this is L1. This is for the band A. This is the capacitor for band A. Okay. So when I'm going to coil and capacitor, I'll be going back and forth with these two right here. So if we come around, so you can see the frequency counter. Let me bring in a little bit more. And again, the tools I'll be using, I mentioned it in the first video, but we'll mention it again here. So I'll be using this here for the coil. That slug inside the coil. It's got a hexagonal here. And there's different sizes of these. I don't know exactly what size that is, but it's one of the common ones. But if you want to use some tuning tools for this for sure. You don't want to try to stick a metal screwdriver or something in there. You'll end up cracking that powdered iron slug and you'll be in really a mess then. So make sure you're using the proper tuning tools. And for the capacitor, I could use something like this one here, or I could use this here. What I'm going to do is use this. Has got two ends to it. Might be a little blurry, but you can see what I'm going to. It's got that metal down in there. And it's kind of recessed, so when I get this on there, and it's kind of hard sometimes to find that slot and get it to go in, but once it's in there, it don't slip off. So, what you want to do with this unit here, I'm going to turn it so I can see it. You want to start the low end of the band, like it was saying, if you're going to use the frequency counter method. And I'm going to start with 110. So what you want to do is bring your dial, what I'm doing, turn the dial here, and bring that to it's right on 110. As close as I can get it, looking straight on at it from my eyes. Get that right on 110. And turn it around so I can get to the coil. And you can see the frequency counter, it's 107. We want this to say 110 kilocycles. So we're going to adjust this slug in here. And don't go too crazy. Even the plastic thing, don't get crazy with it. It's way off. Just take your time. You don't want to break anything, especially with the age of them. And they're fragile even when they're new. They're somewhat fragile. Get that as close to 110 as possible. It don't have to be super, super perfect, because you know the instrument we're working with here is an older analog device, and it's not meant to be, you know, dead on. Like this counter here's got way too many digits than what it needs. I could actually cut most of these off here. We're going to focus on these first few here. That's all we're going to worry about. And I almost got it. I mean, I don't know. No, I knew that was going to happen. That's really close to 110 right there. Maybe round it up, see? Alright, now what you want to do, you'll go back to the dial here. I'll stick this back here. And go up to the upper end. And that would be up here around 370. Well, I'm going to stop at 350. The way you normally would do is you come in a little bit. You don't go all the way one end all the way to the other end. You kind of come in just a little bit. So I'm going to come in here. Let me bring it over here so I can see it good. Put you back on the counter. And I'm going to put this right on 350. Okay, that's 350. Now we're going to go to the capacitor. So I'm going to use this tool here. We'll make sure we're on the capacitor for band A. And find the slot. Come on, there it is. And we're going to adjust the capacitor till we hit 350. I'm getting close. There we go. That's pretty close right there to 350. Now what you want to do, let's go back to your knob here. I'll just do it over here. You want to take it back down to 110. Whatever 2 points you're using, we'll go back to 110. Look dead at it. Get as close as you can to 110 as possible. And then go back to your coil and adjust it. And go back up to 350, go to your capacitor and adjust it. Do that a few times back and forth. Go to band B and do it. Go to band C and do it. Band D and E. Go back to band A. Go through it again. Band B again. You know, it's up to you how accurate and how perfect you want to try to get it. But you got to remember the way this is, and it's analog. And it's going to change with temperature changes. If you're out in a shack somewhere, or your shop or whatever, or your workbench is in the basement or outside somewhere in an outbuilding, where it's colder, when you go in to flip everything on and you got your heater running out there, it's good. The frequency is going to be a little bit different until it comes up to the temperature you use when you aligned it. Okay, so you got to remember that. There's just no compensation in a unit like this for temperature variations and things like that. So get as close as you can and just go back and forth, back and forth. And I mean, that's pretty much it. One other thing I wanted to mention too. Somebody had mentioned it, commented in the first video where I had went in, back off a little bit, and I was going through and showing, I need to do this and change this out, and this has got to be done. I was moving, and this here was down like that. And I was like, okay, that's a little crooked, and I straightened it up. And evidently, I guess the guy's not saying it's a regular viewer and not seen my videos, or he didn't watch the whole video, or I said I was going to, this is just part 1, or I'm going to restore it, and part 2 and show it restored and I'll do an alignment on it. But he was saying, don't you realize what you did there threw the alignment way out of whack? And well, this is the one that's tied to the ground. And let's look at the frequency we're on now, 4.1. You see how it's jumping around there a little bit. Let's grab that and move it. We're just about back to 4.3 where we was at. Move that back down. You can't see what I'm doing, but I'm moving it up and down. I didn't move it that time. I moved the whole unit that time. I shifted. And what I did was grabbing it and just where it shifts some, the metal. So yes, this is not as, it's going to shift it as much as up here. Now if you mess with these, especially if you come up here and mess with any of these and move these around, it's really going to shift the frequency around this for sure. The guy had a good point showing how it's really going to shift things around a lot. And that's true. So once you get the alignment all done, get finished up and stuff, don't touch anything, don't move these, because it's the way these are designed, the way it was made back then. Don't move any of this stuff around. You can say, oh, that coil looks a little crooked there, and try to straighten something up, but you might as well do a realignment again, at least for that band for sure. But see how these are tied in, you want to do the whole alignment again if you do that. So I just want to point that out. The guy had a good point. So anyway, I think that pretty much covers it. I mean, there's no sense in me going through B and D and C and E and all that. But it's working pretty good. So there you have it. And I hope this video has helped somebody out. If you've got one of these units and want to restore it, I hope this helped you out and showed you kind of what to do, because I know sometimes when you're not familiar with stuff, you might read I got the papers here. I download the manual online. It says, for this calibration, do this, set this, turn this, that. It kind of helps to see somebody do it. And oh, okay, I got you. And then you go from there. So if this helped you out, give me a like. If you got any questions or comments, post them below. Always glad to see them and read them and try to answer as many as I can of them. And until the next video, this is Michael, KE4EST 73.